welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Today's Tuesday, and for today's video I have a thrift flip for you, although I guess you could call it a furniture flip too because it's a little bitty cabinet. And if you watched my last video, you know last week I was kind of struggling in the motivation department. I had to scramble to get a video ready for Friday, and then my son got married on Saturday, so I wasn't able to be here at all. And then Sunday we spent the entire day cleaning up the nursery and getting another truckload of stuff ready to go to the dump because we're having an event here on Saturday. So needless to say, I really didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time to get anything done for today either. But I grabbed a little cabinet that I've had for not very long now and went ahead and gave it a makeover. I really love how it came out. I hope you do too. I hope you enjoyed the video. And without further ado, let's get to the little cabinet. So here's the cute little wood cabinet that I'm going to be working on today. I found this at a yard sale not too terribly long ago for $5. It's very cute, solid wood, but definitely had a couple issues, and I decided I would go ahead and paint it. Before I can get going with the paint though, I need to remove all the hardware. So I grabbed my handy dandy drill and took the hinges off, the little magnet out from inside, and the handle. Then it's time to give it a bath, so I grabbed my crud cutter and gave it a good spray, wiped that all down really well, and then went over it again with my mister bottle and some clean water just to make sure that I got any residue from the crud cutter off of it. Once I'm done giving it a good bath, I walk away just for a little bit and let this completely dry before I start the painting process. So for this piece, I grabbed Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color called Oh Olive, which is this really beautiful kind of sagey green that goes great for any season and even for Christmas. So I am giving this 2 good even coats of the milk paint, and I decided to go ahead and paint the inside of the cabinet as well. Milk paint comes in a powder form, so you have to mix it with water before you can paint with it. And if you're going over something like raw wood or terracotta, a porous surface, the only thing you need to do is add water. If you are going over a slick surface like glass or a previously finished piece of furniture like this one, and you don't want any chipping or crackling, you really need to add a product called Extra Bond, which is kind of like a glue adhesion catalyst that makes the paint stick to just about any darn thing. So for this piece, I went ahead and added Extra Bond to both my coats of paint just because I didn't want too much chipping and crackling, and since this had kind of a shiny finish on it, I was worried about how much chipping I would get. Now, since I didn't get any chippiness because of the Extra Bond, and I did want this to have kind of a distressed old world feel to it, I took it outside and with my little rotary sander and some 220 grit sandpaper, I went over all of the edges and all of the flat surfaces as well, just to give this a nice smooth finish and a little bit of distressing along the edges. Once I was done with the rotary sander, I just grabbed some 220 grit sandpaper and by hand went over a few places that I just couldn't quite get with the sander, just to make sure that I hit all of the high and low spots, and of course to get into the little cubby that I couldn't fit the sander into. Then it was back inside where I wiped it all down really well with a damp shop towel, getting it ready for the next step. Now for this piece, one of the reasons I picked this color was that I knew I wanted to use this absolutely gorgeous decoupage paper by Roycycled Treasures called Wallpaper. This is so pretty. It's got these beautiful roses on it and just a really little bit of light handwriting in the back. So the first step was to take it and place it over the panel of the door. And then I just kind of traced the edges out with my fingernail and then cut out the piece that I needed, making it a little bit bigger than the panel. Then I spritzed my paper with a little bit of water and then began to lay it down. So I'm just using DIY's liquid patina, and I started at the bottom and worked my way to the top with that piece and then gave it another coat of the liquid patina. And then you just want to make sure that your liquid patina is nice and even and smooth when you put it on. I decided to add some paper to the back of this cabinet on that little half moon portion. So I took it and kind of fit it in there, used my fingers to crease it where I needed to cut it, cut out my piece, gave it a little spritz of water to get the wrinkles all out, put down a coat of liquid patina just along the base, lined up my line with the decoupage paper to make sure it's nice and straight. Once that part of it was down, I was able to work my way to the top of that little half moon, slowly, just kind of meticulously putting down a little bit of liquid patina and then smoothing out any wrinkles. And then you go over it one time again with another coat of liquid patina, and that also just kind of helps smooth out any wrinkles. Now I have found that while the liquid patina is wet on top of the piece, it's a little easier to smooth out any wrinkles or bubbles with your fingers. Once this was done and I was happy with how it looked, I set it aside to dry before I moved on to the next step, which is taking some sandpaper and getting rid of that excess paper around the half moon and also the excess paper on the door. So for that, I'm just using some, this is 150 grit sandpaper, and just kind of being very careful not to tear the paper, kind of sanding away from myself as best I can. And then same thing, just kind of going around the door very slowly and carefully, sanding little bits, pulling back the excess paper as I go. This did give me a pretty good edge around the decoupage paper, but I did go through and sand it even more just to make it a little bit distressed around the edges. Now I'm sure you noticed that I put the decoupage paper directly over the color that I had painted my piece. And the reason I did that rather than paint white underneath the decoupage paper was just a couple of things. Number one, I kind of wanted a more muted look to this paper. I really didn't want it to pop too heavily off of the piece. And number two, I don't like necessarily the look when you go to distress it and it has that little white edge, and I didn't want that on this piece, so I left the white out. Now I went in and I did paint the handle black so that it matched the hinges, and then it was on to sealing my paint. Now, like your mineral-based paints or your chalk style paints, milk paint is porous and you do need to seal it. For this piece, I decided to go with Sweet Pickins oil wax, and I just used clear. And the main reason I did that is because I was worried if I used dark, it might change the tone or the pigmentation of that decoupage paper somehow. So just to be on the safe side, I used clear oil wax on this piece. I just use a chip brush to apply the oil wax, and I paint it on in a very thin, even coat, making sure to completely cover all of the milk paint with it. Let it sit for about 15 minutes and then come back with a dry shop towel and wipe off any excess. Then it was on to replacing my hinges and of course the handle, and I love how these go together now, but I decided it needed a little something, so I grabbed my DIY Golden Rule gilding wax and dipped my fingertip in it just a little bit and then gently wiped some of that gilding wax over the handle to bring out all of the beautiful detail. And then this little piece is done. you guys think of my video for today. I hope you liked it, and if you did enjoy it, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and then hit the little notification bell so you don't miss any of the craziness that goes on here in my cottage. And also, just as a reminder, the Sweet Pickins products you saw me use in today's video can be purchased from me on my website at www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. It's listed below in the description box as well. And for Friday's video, I have been working on getting some other things ready so that I would actually have a video ready to rock and roll and be on top of things this week. So I'm still working on some fall projects that I really am hoping to get done. So we'll see if those are in the video. But I have a really cool toolbox that I bought not too long ago that I am going to start working on. And then I've got a shelf in there, just kind of some odds and ends. Really need to start working on getting my kitchen cleaned back out again. It is a mess. So that is what I'm going to be doing for a while, is pulling stuff out of my stash and trying to get that dwindled back down again. Anyway, I hope you will join me for Friday's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you on Friday. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.